Howdy folks, welcome to Eight Oaks Farm Distillery. We're a Pennsylvania farm-to-bottle distillery that's committed to making our community a better place. We don't just make whiskey, we make a difference. Located in the rolling farmlands of the Lehigh Valley, the Eight Oaks experience is one of family and legacy. Let's take a tour of the farm and learn about the distilling process. At Eight Oaks, we grow wheat, rye, barley, and corn for all of our grain-based spirits such as vodka, gin, rye whiskey, and bourbon. When we're ready to make a batch, we transfer grain from our grain bins on the farm into our hopper, which has load cells on the legs that allow us to weigh the exact measurements. The mill we use is called a hammer mill. It has a 10 horsepower motor that turns a series of blades and chops up the grain into fine powder, similar to flour. This powder is taken directly to the mash tun through a series of augers. The mash tun is a 3,000 liter vessel that's used to cook all of our different mashes. We mix the grain with water and heat it. Use a combination of a heat exchanger and direct injection of steam. The mash is cooked at very precise temperatures and times. Depending on the product, we add enzymes to convert the starches into sugars. Next, using cooling jackets, we cool the mash tun to a specific temperature range in order to pitch our yeast. Once the starches are converted, we add the yeast that immediately starts to eat the sugars, converting them into alcohol. This is when the fermentation process begins. Once the mash is transferred to the fermenters, we leave the yeast to do their jobs. It takes between 4 to 7 days depending on the product we are making, sometimes longer. The yeast takes this time to eat the sugars, and the byproduct is alcohol and carbon dioxide. You can see the carbon dioxide by watching the stainless steel buckets bubbling with water. As the fermentation ends, the carbon dioxide slows down, causing the bubbling of the water to slow down. Next, we head to the lab. At the lab, we do small batch testing of recipes before scaling them up. We use our equipment to measure out very precise amounts of ingredients and run those through a 3-liter glass still to see what kind of flavors we're getting. The lab is especially helpful in developing our gin recipes. We take natural ingredients and macerate them into our neutral spirit at 95% alcohol. These spirits run through our small glass still to produce a distillate of that particular botanical. Once we're satisfied with our lab-tested small batch run of a spirit, we can confidently move on to creating the real deal. We use a pot still with 2 columns manufactured by Carl Stills just outside of Stuttgart, Germany. The pot still, which holds around 900 liters, can be used itself or in conjunction with 2 columns to the right of it. The equipment's made of copper for 2 reasons. First, copper can handle heat well. It can be heated and cooled repeatedly and still maintain its strength and form. Second, sulfur binds to copper. This removes sulfur during the distillation and keeps your spirits free from those off flavors. We heat the still with low pressure steam that goes through a stainless steel steam jacket. The first column is the vodka column, where there's a series of 21 plates at each of the sight glasses. These plates allow the alcohol vapor to condense and fall on top of the plate as a liquid. The liquid reheats and vaporizes, moving up to the next plate and condensing again. This process is called rectification and serves to increase the proof and purity of the spirit as it progresses. By the time the spirit reaches the top of the column, it's typically over 95% pure alcohol, which is what's required for a spirit to be called vodka. We take the 95% pure alcohol and cut it using water from our spring aquifer to bring it down to a drinkable 40% alcohol, which is 80 proof. The second column is our whiskey or brandy column. This column is used when we simply want a bit more copper contact with the spirit. We can use the 4 plates in the column to provide some rectification if needed on a particular spirit. This column allows us to increase the purity or increase the character of the spirit depending on what spirit we're making. The stainless steel column is the final condenser. This column has cold water running through the condenser, and when warm alcohol vapors come into contact with those cold tubes, the vapor condenses back into a liquid. The liquid comes out of the parrot and into a collection tank. The hot water that goes through the condenser is heated by this exchange, and we recapture it in the hot liquor tank, which is recycled and used for the next mash. Once the spirit has been milled, mashed, fermented, and carefully distilled, it's ready to move on to its final step, bottling or barrel aging. If we finish a clear spirit like vodka or gin, the spirit heads right to the bottling line. If we finish a whiskey or aged product, it gets put into a barrel and loaded into the barrel barn, where they'll sit and age to perfection for several years. Once the aging is complete or a clear spirit comes off the still, it will head on to the bottling line, where we will thoughtfully label, cork, and box each bottle by hand, getting it ready to be enjoyed by all of you. The process of distilling takes time, patience, and hard work by our team of experts. At Eight Oaks Farm Distillery, we bring you high-quality spirits from our farm to your bottle. To see it for yourself, come visit the farm.